Episode 11 was interesting. We had a new villain appear, Majin, and that does confirm some of the leaks. We'll get into that as we get to it. But first, we want to tackle this first section of the episode, which contained a bit of a plot hole. Well, let's just go ahead and jump into it. First of all, we had the reference to the OG Dragon Ball opening. Obviously, I can't play it on this video because I will get copy struck, but if you know, you know. And Neva is apparently aware of that, which, again, some fourth wall breaking stuff, but who cares? Now, this is interesting. He's saying that Piccolo reminds him of Katatsu or Katats. Now, some people online are a little bit confused. They were saying that actually his name is King Piccolo. I went over this in the previous episode. Piccolo that we know is the fusion of King Piccolo and Kami, because you remember Piccolo from OG Dragon Ball, Piccolo Jr., was the reincarnation of King Piccolo, and he was also the other half of Kami. So they fused and then they make the Namekian, who has since forgotten his name. And that Namekian also called himself Piccolo, because if you guys remember in Dragon Ball Z, they just kept on insisting to call him Piccolo, and he was like, alright, whatever, Piccolo's fine. So he is Piccolo, and Katatsu, or Katats, is his father. So that's who Neva is referring to here. Now, the interesting thing is he says, I certainly didn't expect you to be that strong even as children. So they go on and talk about how basically Neva had the opportunity to defeat Goma or prevent him from making these wishes, but he cannot act with violence. He says here, Namekians must not use their power for conflict. So apparently he thinks that turning them into children was the best choice he could have had. And then if Goma wanted him to make some sort of other wish that would have been life-threatening, then he would have pretended to be senile. So I kind of question the logic there, but I'm not like too upset about it. Like, I don't think it's too crazy. This is the one where I'm like, okay, now this is a crazy plot hole. So he says you need to make your wish in the Namekian language. So he is basically saying that they should take him with him. That way he can be the one to make the wish. And so Goku's like, Piccolo, you speak Namekian, don't you? And Piccolo's like, no, I've lived on Earth for too long. Piccolo, you know how to speak Namekian. We actually saw them speaking it when they had the big fight at the tournament with Piccolo Jr. and Kami whenever he was possessing that one dude. And now he just can't remember how to speak it. Like, that's weird. Now, I have seen some commentary from people in the community saying this is akin to like somebody like from one country and they move to another country and they just go so long that they forget their language. But I believe, and again, I'm not speaking from personal experience, but this is just from what I have read and what I've heard and what I've seen, is that normally happens if they move away from their home country at like a really, really, really early age. And even then, they probably have family members that still speak that first language. Piccolo, he knew the Namekian language as an adult, or as a teenager, or however you want to put it, in OG Dragon Ball whenever he was Piccolo Jr. And then he absorbed Nell, and he combined with Kami again. So this guy should know the Namekian language. So it makes no sense here that he's saying he's lived on Earth too long, because this would imply that he has forgotten the Namekian language since the Cell Saga, since he fused with Kami. That's a little bit too much. This is literally a plot hole. Now, you have, like I said, some of the logic that some fans are applying to this. I don't agree with it, but it's there. If you want to headcanon that. Now, here's the interesting thing. They used the remaining fragments and essence of Buu to create Majin. So they say if it goes berserk, things get very bad. I do think this could be interesting if he does go berserk. I do think that's in the cards because they actually do hint at it. Now, here's the interesting thing. They have no more Majin Buu left after this. So are there still going to be more Majins made? That's what I'm interested to find out. So, Neva explains that he stays on the second demon world to basically keep it safe for when everyone returns. So, is there going to be some sort of thing eventually if Dragon Ball Super comes back where all the Namekians from across the galaxy all migrate back to the demon realm? That's possible. But how likely is it? That we'll have to wait and see, because we know there's Namekians from Universe 6. There is Monaito. So I do think that there is enough Namekians, like the Namekians from New Namek as well. they could have that way we could have like a whole arc of it, maybe. But I don't know if that's what they're setting up here. But I don't think they would include this line here for nothing. So it has to be hinting at something bigger. And then they also explain why he made the Tamagami, basically as you would expect, to basically guard it from bad guys making wishes that obviously they probably shouldn't be making, which makes sense. I mean, Goma can't get the Dragon Balls, so I guess Neva had the right idea. He cannot apply violence himself, but, you know, his creations, the Tamagami, can. I guess that makes sense. I do like that explanation of why he felt like he needed to make the Tamagami. And this is an interesting thing that I want to bring up later whenever I'm talking about the Vegeta and Tamagami 2 fight, because he says here that it's fine for Vegeta to fight Tamagami 2 even though Goku fought Tamagami 3, as long as it's a one-on-one. So I'll get back to that in just a moment. And I really like this moment with Majin Buu. I thought it was kind of adorable just how excited he is to have a brother, you know? Like, this is such a joke character that the entire community, well, not the entire community, but it was very split. Some people hated this character's design. Some people loved it. And then they were saying that he was just a fraud Ku. You know, not Goku, but Ku is a fraud, you know? And I don't think it's that bad. I do think he's definitely powerful. He's just not on a Tamagami level powerful. And as we know, Goku was not exactly, you know, Goku had to exert a certain amount of effort just to beat Tamagami 3. And they're going to get more powerful with each Tamagami. So I do think that this character is not like a Mr. Satan type character where he can basically do nothing. You know, he's definitely got some power behind him. And he's also got a very fun, colorful personality. Of course, Majin Buu awoke, and he did the same exact thing Kid Buu does, where he just screams for no reason. So I do like how he is basically just a fat Buu, but more yellowish and shorter. I do like the design. I actually saw some people complaining about the design, but I don't think it was as bad as Majin Buu. I feel like they were so let down by Majin Buu's design that they liked this one a bit more. I do think that the reception of this design is a little bit more positive, but you are still seeing some of the negative voices out there. Now, one thing I want to talk about is I actually do like Majin Buu's design more than Majin Buu, but they still both have like the pink face of Majin Buu. And of course, since they used more Majin Buu essence and basically the rest of it, he looks way more like Majin Buu than Majin Buu does. Majin Buu looks more like a Cyberman because they didn't use as much of it. And they also went deeper in the plot in the dirt with the Cyberman seed for this character, for Majin Buu. So that makes sense to me that he is, of course, going to be a little bit more uncontrollable. So they have to make him look a little bit more like Majin Buu. So, again, just more cool Majin Buu moments. He says that he's going to get some chocolate from the convenience store. And then, of course, we had Majin Buu eat all of the chocolate, and Majin Buu didn't get any. I just love these two. These two are absolutely hilarious and enjoyable. Now, is Majin Buu actually going to be the final villain of Dragon Ball DAIMA? Who knows? We have to wait to see. It kind of feels like right now they're still setting Majin Buu up as a little bit more serious than Majin Buu, but also kind of a joke. I'll get into more of that as we go. So, yeah, again, Majin Buu, he's always wanted to fight over snacks. I'm happy for him. He's got a brother to play with. And I like this symbolism here. Majin Buu is the older brother, funnily enough, but he is kind of acting like the younger brother, probably because Majin Buu is more powerful, and he's riding on Majin Buu's shoulders. I think Majin Buu is also bigger. So Marba is a bit optimistic about this. She thinks it might have worked out, but this is what I wanted to mention specifically. Even Dr. Ariansu says, I'm not so sure. And that's obviously exhibited in the fact that Majin Buu can't follow simple instructions like eating half of a chocolate bar. He wants all of the chocolate bar. I believe they're setting him up to have the same mentality as Majin Buu with Babidi. Basically, he will obey Dr. Ariansu because she's telling him what to do. And then as soon as somebody's like, you don't have to follow Dr. Ariansu's orders, Majin Buu's going to be like, oh, okay. And then he'll just betray her. That's just a theory. It could be a little bit repetitive, some might say, but I mean, if you're basically working with more Buu, then you're probably going to get more of a Buu mentality, if that makes sense. Now, this is another plot hole, or maybe not a plot hole. We're going to think through this, because I honestly didn't think of this in earlier episodes whenever they went to fight Tamagami 1. And then as I was watching this, it finally clicked with me, and I was like, wait, I know this place. This is the palace of Goma, right? We saw in episode 1, they walked down these steps, and, you know, they got in this plane and everything, and with Neva, and they flew off to Earth. So Goma is literally right over here somewhere. He's literally like somewhere over here, right? Off screen maybe. And he's like watching Goku and everybody else. So if Dr. Ariansu is trying to be sneaky and create a clone of Majin Buu and work to betray Goma, she's going straight to like the heart of the first demon realm, right in front of Goma's palace to fight Tamagami 1. And you're going to tell me Degasu and Goma don't notice anything about this, about the Tamagami 1 being challenged and things like that? I literally did not even, like, this didn't register with me whenever Ku was here, but for some reason they just showed this shot and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is interesting. Now, you could make the argument that maybe Goma and Degasu are too distracted watching Goku to notice right on their front lawn Majin Ku and Majin Du, clones basically of Majin Buu, are working on the orders of Dr. Ariansu to fight the Tamagami 1 and get the Dragon Ball. That's interesting. I don't know if that's an acceptable excuse, but it's an excuse nonetheless. Now, the Tamagami 1 is doing a good job of fighting against Majin Du. Now, Majin Du is doing a better job of fighting against Tamagami 1 than Majin Ku was. And I do think that they are trying to show that Majin Du naturally is less intelligent than Majin Ku, because Majin Ku was already using a bunch of energy attacks right out of the gate. Whereas with Majin Du, he had to see Tamagami 1 use an energy attack on him. And then he's like, oh, okay, that's an energy attack. And I do think that's going to have to play into maybe how the show develops. They're probably just showing you that he has more of the Fat Boo mentality. Again, probably building up to him betraying Dr. Ariansu, if that is the case. So, I thought this was a funny joke. It doesn't look like the spiky-haired one is going to fight. Degasu's kind of like excited that Goku's not going to go fight. And then Goma's like, that one has spiky hair too. Like, there's some simple jokes that are in Dragon Ball that I just think are hilarious, and this is one of them where I was like, okay. It was so simple. It was right in your face, but it made me laugh anyway. Now, I talked about how Tamagami 1 is kind of like the noble, samurai, archetypal, honorable Tamagami. And then Tamagami 3 was very blusterous, very loud, very in your face. And then Tamagami 2 seems to be a crap talker, you could say. He is a bit of a proud to a fault character, it seems like. So he's probably on that Vegeta track. He says, stop joking, go home and suckle on your mommy's teat. So that's interesting. You know, it's a fun way to make all three Tamagamis different. And then after he sees after he sees Neva's with them, he says, I'm sorry, it appears that you're actually serious. And they go and fight. Now, obviously, the fight is very well animated. No complaints here. This episode was absolutely gorgeously animated, cutting back and forth between Vegeta and Majin Duu's fights, right? Like Majin Duu attacking Tamagami 1 with an energy blast. Like I said, he's putting up a really good fight against Tamagami 1, you know? And Majin Ku, again, I love Majin Ku as a character. He's supporting his brother. I think it would be really interesting if Majin Duu fails and there's no more Majin Buu essence. So basically Marba and Dr. Ariansu decide to just fuse Duu and Ku to create some sort of next Majin Buu version of them. It's possible. Now, this is what I wanted to get to here. Basically, Vegeta, as we know at the end of the episode, gets swallowed up by the Kraken. And I think this is great storytelling. They introduced the Kraken in last episode. They said they weren't strong enough to handle it yet. And then they just, boom, here it is. So now you know how much of a threat it is. You can't just say, oh, Vegeta's going to get out of this easily. You know that it's so much of a threat. It's probably more powerful than the Tamagami 3 character. If Goku's saying that they're not powerful enough for it, or they don't have time for it, or whatever. So where does this go from here? Now, this is where I want to bring this up again earlier, right here. Wherever they said that it has to be one-on-one, it doesn't matter. So, is this still a one-on-one fight with Tamagami 2 if Vegeta is being swallowed up by the Kraken, because Vegeta fell into the ocean, and then he started to get sucked in by the Kraken, and then he came out, and then Tamagami 2 says, aha, I waited on you. And then he kind of like sucker punches him with the trident. I almost forgot what a trident was called. A trident. And then Vegeta kind of, gets caught off guard because he was busy with the Kraken. And then he gets slapped right back into the Kraken's mouth. Is that really a one-on-one? That's probably going to play into the plot of the episode, I would have to guess. I don't know if that would count as a one-on-one. So maybe you could say that Vegeta will win by default, Maybe Tamagami 2 basically disqualified himself, and maybe that's why they decided to have Neva there in person. Maybe Neva could kind of referee it, Or maybe the Tamagamis are already like honorable enough that they would say, hey, that was kind of unfair to me to do because, that big giant Kraken was attacking you, so it's not really a one-on-one. So, again, that's just another plot thread that I think could be relevant. Now, before I get into the next episode preview, I want to review this episode honestly with a score. I got to give it like a 7 out of 10. It's not as high as an 8.5 out of 10. And it's not like an 8. Like, I'm not just going to give like a high score just because we got a new Majin Buu clone. Even though he does have an interesting design. Like I said, I personally like Majin Buu more. Majin Buu looks cool. I don't know any leaks about if this is the final villain or not, but I do like Majin Buu's personality, and I think Majin Buu brings out a better part of Majin Buu in terms of his simplicity. Like, Majin Buu's comedy mixed with Majin Buu's simplicity is going to make for a great buddy cop comedy duo thing, Now, like I said, Dr. Anzu not being so sure she can control Buu will, I think, play into the future plot of this series. Maybe. But yeah, I would have to give this episode a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, but I think the preview for next episode is where I think things are going to get a little bit more wild. So let's go ahead and break that down now. So right here, I believe Vegeta's underwater. It looks like there's like ground and stuff around him. So I'm kind of struggling to understand if the implication is that the Kraken on the inside has like rocks and stuff inside him from eating so much junk, or maybe Vegeta's been spit up by the Kraken. Maybe, I don't know. Now, I do think that obviously Goku's going to put up a good fight against the Kraken. The episode's called True Strength. I don't know if this is going to be shown by Goku or not here. Goma looks like he's raging. If I had to guess, maybe Tamagami 1 gets defeated, the Dragon Ball gets taken, and Goma realizes it, but it's too late. So like I said earlier, maybe they are at the palace, but they get in and out quick enough where Goma doesn't notice. But this time, he's going to notice that the Tamagami 1 is missing the Dragon Ball. Tamagami 1 is looking pretty beat up, but he kind of like turns like steamy colored, and he kind of starts to turn a red. He basically looks like he's locking in, so I don't think that he has a transformation. I think this is just to show simply that he's locking in and he's ready for battle. So I'm really excited for the next episode. I don't know how important it'll be, but like the preview for this episode didn't seem like it was going to be crazy either. And then you have Majin Buu being created in this episode, putting up a good fight against Tamagami 1. And then Vegeta versus Tamagami 2 was also featured in the preview, but you know what I'm saying. Now, in terms of spoilers, I do save those for the end. So let me talk about the spoilers now. So in my last episode review, I predicted that Vegeta would go Super Saiyan 3 because that was leaked. That's the only thing from the leaks that we haven't seen yet from Geekdom 101. And he did not. Now, I do think there's still time for him to go Super Saiyan 3, of course. His battle against Tamagami 2, theoretically, is not over. Maybe True Strength is him unlocking Super Saiyan 3 here. I don't know. But we do know he will turn Super Saiyan 3 at one point in this series. I'm thinking it's got to be against Tamagami 2, but it could not be. Now, as far as Tamagami 1 goes, if he's not defeated by Majin Buu, then I could see Vegeta and Goku fusing to fight Tamagami 1. This is a theory, not a leak. But, you know, we know that they have the fusion bug. Maybe Vegeta and Goku fuses to fight Tamagami 1. So you could say, like, Vegeta fought and beat Tamagami 2, Goku beat Tamagami 3, and then they fuse to beat Tamagami 1. That's just one theory. That is, of course, if Majin Buu does not end up beating Tamagami 1, which I do think it's possible at this point. I mean, look at the state of Tamagami 1. It's not looking good for him. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this video. It was a pretty straightforward review. This episode didn't do anything as crazy as explaining the Dragon Ball multiverse, but we did get a cool plot hole for me to talk about, which was the whole Boo not knowing his own language. Piccolo not knowing his own language thing. And then this part with them at the palace is debatably a plot hole, but it depends on how they explain it. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to keep up to date with all things Dragon Ball news and commentary, because Jump Fest is this weekend. We could be getting some big Dragon Ball information. I'll try to keep you guys posted about that. And I will see you in the next one. Peace off.